At 103, Kirk Douglas tells us the 7 most truly naughty actors in Hollywood. Kirk Douglas was born Isher Danilovich on December 9, 1916, way up in Amsterdam, New York. He grew up from having nothing to being one of the most famous and long-lasting movie stars in Hollywood's whole history. He was the son of very poor Jewish parents who came from Belarus, and Kirk grew up in a working-class home where life was often super hard and chances were rare. Even though they were so poor, he learned to be super strong, to always bounce back, and to want to achieve big things. These great qualities would stick with him in his normal life and his movie job. From when he was just a little kid, Kirk showed he was an amazing worker. He did great in school while also taking on lots of little jobs to help his family, which showed off the tough spirit and never give up attitude that his movie characters later had. Kirk's trip to become a huge star started when he wanted to be an actor, but that path was not at all easy. He went to St. Lawrence University, where he learned acting and practiced his skills before bravely serving in the United States Navy during World War II. Being in the military not only proved he was brave and did his duty, but it also really added to the deep, strong feelings he put into his acting roles. After the war ended, Kirk worked hard on his skills in the theater, acting in many plays that let him learn all about people's feelings and how they change. This tough practice helped him start a film career that would last over 60 years. During that time, people knew him for his strong look, his exciting energy, and how good he was at playing all sorts of different parts. Kirk Douglas became super famous in the late 1940s and 1950s, becoming the perfect main guy in Hollywood. His first big hit was in the movie Champion in 1949, where he got an Academy Award tryout for Best Actor. It showed how intense and charming he was, and how he wasn't afraid to play characters who were a little mixed up morally. Over the years, Kirk gave us performances we could never forget in classic movies like Ace in the Hole, 1951, The Bad and the Beautiful, 1952, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, 1954, and the giant movie Spartacus, 1960, which was directed by Stanley Kubrick. In Spartacus, he didn't just play the hero gladiator who started a slave fight. He also did a very important thing by standing up to the Hollywood no-work list, by giving credit to the writer Dalton Trumbo, showing he cared about fairness and making the movie world better. Kirk's ability to show both a rough toughness and a deep sensitivity made him a star who could play many roles and was loved by people of all ages. Besides being a great actor, Kirk Douglas was also a producer, director, and writer who did very well, showing a special mix of talent, big dreams, and a smart business mind. He helped start a company called Brina Productions, which let him be in charge of many of his movies. This proved he could handle the business side of Hollywood just as well as he acted on screen. His books, like his memories in The Ragman's Son, 1988, and Kirk and Ann, Letters of Love, Laughter, and a Lifetime in Hollywood, 2020, gave people a close look into his life, what he thought, and the personal rules that helped him through both happy and sad times. Even when he got older, Kirk kept his mind busy. He kept writing, giving talks, and talking to fans all over the world, leaving a great story that went way past the movie screen. Kirk Douglas's private life, especially his marriages, shows the tricky parts of being in love and how he grew as a person over time. His first marriage was to Diana Dill, a very talented actress and model from Bermuda. They met in the early 1940s when Kirk was still trying to become an actor, dealing with the hard parts of Hollywood while trying to get his name known in a very tough job. They got married in 1943, and their wedding was like the hopes and dreams of young couples back then, looking for love and a solid life even as the world was mixed up because of World War II. Diana Dill, who came from a famous family in Bermuda, brought a cool, proper style to their partnership, which went well with Kirk's strong drive and natural energy. During the years they were together, they shared the happy and hard parts of being newly married, dealing with the pressure of Kirk's growing career, which meant long hours, lots of travel, and always being watched by the public. Their marriage had 2 sons, Michael and Joel. Both of them would later find their own work in acting and entertainment. Even though they loved each other and had a family, the marriage finally broke because of the stress that came with Kirk becoming a big star and the problems of balancing home life and work life. After 8 years together, the couple got divorced in 1951. This was a sad decision, but it let both of them grow by themselves and follow their own life path.
Well, teenagers.
After his first marriage ended, Kirk Douglas found love again with Anne Bidens, a kind lady from Europe who made movies and would become his partner for the rest of his life. They got married in 1954, just a few years after he divorced Diana Dill. This started one of Hollywood's longest-lasting and most loved marriages. Anne Bidens, who was from Germany originally, brought a mix of fancy style, smart thinking, and knowledge of different cultures that went perfectly with Kirk's larger-than-life personality. Together, they built a partnership based on respecting each other, sharing the same important beliefs and truly caring about their family and helping others. Their marriage lasted for more than 60 years. That's a huge thing in a business where love often doesn't last long and public scandals happen a lot. All the time they were together, Anne was not just a wife. She was a best friend and a helper, supporting Kirk through the great times and the hard times of his career. She also made her own great name for being kind and helping people all over the world. The couple became known for being very generous, having charity parties, and spending their time helping with things like kids' health and helping people around the world. Their relationship was special because of their deep loyalty and never-ending love, showing that even with fame and money, real connection, and working toward the same goals could make a love last forever. At the amazing age of 103, Hollywood hero Kirk Douglas, whose own career was full of movie successes, openly shared his personal list of the 7 most mean actors he met during his time in the movie world. Known for being super smart, having a huge personality, and always telling the truth, Kirk didn't hold back when sharing his thoughts on the darker side of the film business. Hollywood has always had its good guys and its bad guys, he joked with a little laugh. But these 7, wow, they were something else entirely. Each actor he talked about came with a unique story, showing not just Kirk's personal experiences, but also giving a rare peek behind the shiny masks of Hollywood fame. First on Kirk's list was Marlon Brando, the famous method actor whose talent was undeniable but whose personal actions on set could be crazy and hurtful. Marlon had a genius that could light up a whole room, Kirk said, but it came with a selfish side that often just left a mess behind him. He wanted everyone and everything to only care about him, and he would easily try to mess up anyone who got in his way. Kirk remembered times on movie sets where Marlon's bad temper and sudden, unexpected actions caused things to slow down and made people angry among the actors and crew. This showed how complicated Marlon was, both as an artist and a regular person. Next, Kirk talked about Errol Flynn, the sword-fighting star whose wild life outside of movies was often as exciting as his movie adventures. Errol was charming, super brave, and a total pain to anyone who didn't go along with his crazy plans, Kirk explained. He told how Errol's risky lifestyle and love for causing trouble made him hard to work with and often got movie productions into big arguments. But Kirk admitted there was a certain charm about Errol that made it almost impossible to truly dislike him, which showed the weirdness of his bad side. A mix of being personally wild and having an attractive power. Kirk also pointed out Elizabeth Taylor, whose beautiful looks and huge talent were often less noticed because of her very famous messy personal life. Elizabeth could be mean in ways that were almost planned and perfect, Kirk said. She used her fame like a powerful weapon, making things happen and using people to get what she wanted. He thought about the strong fights and drama that often surrounded Elizabeth, both when making movies and in her private life. He said she was like a big, powerful storm whose strong feelings sometimes became something bad. For John Wayne, Kirk's comments had a funny twist. The Duke seemed bigger than life, a man who always did the right thing. But he was so stubborn and so stuck in his ways that it could make him, well, not nice to put it simply, Kirk said. He agreed that John Wayne was a legendary hero in American movies, but he noted that his unwillingness to change sometimes made things tense with his co-stars and young actors trying to make it in Hollywood. Kirk's list also included Richard Burton, whose brilliance as an actor was often hidden by his very stormy moods. Richard was a genius, truly a genius, Kirk explained. But his moods were like volcanoes, and he could suddenly yell at anyone around him without warning. Thinking about Richard's well-known problems with drinking too much and his big, dramatic shouting fits, Kirk said that the actor's amazing talent came with a high personal and work price, leaving stress and bad feelings on every set he worked on. He I didn't forget Vivian Leigh, whose personal struggles and strange behavior were well known in Hollywood circles. Vivian had some inner demons, Kirk admitted softly. Her talent was huge, but she could be tricky and mean, especially when she felt unsure of herself. She was a sad person, and sometimes the things she did were really hurtful to people who loved her. This comment showed that Kirk could see both the good and the bad in the people he worked with, understanding the human side behind their public faces. Finally, Kirk named Bette Davis, an actress famous for being fiercely determined and always demanding the very best work. Bette was a powerhouse and she didn't put up with people who weren't smart or good enough, Kirk said. Her big goals sometimes turned into being cruel. She could be scary, very critical, and yes, mean if she thought it was needed to protect her work or her spot in the movie world. Kirk thought about Bette's famous fights with others and her super high standards, painting a picture of an actress whose dedication to her job sometimes looked like personal unkindness. On January 28, 1996, when he was 79, Kirk Douglas had a very serious stroke that completely changed his life. This event would deeply affect his personal life and how the public saw him. The stroke badly hurt his ability to talk, leaving him with a problem communicating that was both upsetting and scary for a man whose whole career was built on his strong voice, commanding presence, and clear speaking. Doctors gave his wife Ann Biden's very serious news, explaining that if he didn't get better quickly and a lot, he might never be able to speak again. The outlook was very bad because strokes often cause damage to the brain that lasts forever, especially when someone is older, making getting better very uncertain. Despite these huge problems, Kirk showed the same never-give-up attitude and strength that had made his movie career so great. He promised himself to a very strict plan of daily speech therapy, a process that needed patience, self-control, and endless effort. This therapy, which went on for several months, included doing the same exercises over and over to help him talk, build back muscle control, and teach his brain how to speak correctly. Slowly but surely, Kirk started to get his voice back. While his speech was never exactly the same as it was before the stroke, it was still limited and sometimes hard for him, but he could say words, make sentences, and share his thoughts with his family, doctors, and fans. His recovery, even though it took a lot of hard work, became a great example of how people can keep going and how strong the mind and body are when facing a life-changing challenge. Amazingly, just 2 months after his stroke, Kirk was able to show up at a big Hollywood party to get an honorary Academy Award in March 1996. Even with the hard thing he had just gone through, he went onto the stage and thanked everyone. He spoke his words with a mix of being open and brave that touched everyone there. This moment was celebrated by everyone as a huge win, not just for his recovery, but for his strong spirit that kept going. It showed his powerful decision to stay involved with the world and keep sharing his thanks and his charm with everyone around him. Kirk Douglas later wrote all about this amazing part of his life in his 2002 book, My Stroke of Luck. This book gave both a personal look into his feelings and a helpful guide for other people going through the same thing. Kirk hoped the book would be like a how-to guide for families who were taking care of stroke victims, offering ideas about the emotional and physical problems that come with such a crisis. By sharing his story, he talked about being strong, having hope, and how important support from family is, hoping to give both inspiration and real advice to readers dealing with the unknown parts of getting better. Kirk's life, which was marked by living for a very long time and being full of energy, ended peacefully at his home in Beverly Hills on February 5, 2020. Surrounded by his family and people who loved him, he died at the extraordinary age of 103, leaving behind a story that covered more than 80 years in the movie business and beyond. His funeral, which was held 2 days later on February 7th at Westwood Village Memorial Park Cemetery, showed both his famous status and the deep love he had for his family. Kirk was buried in the same spot as his beloved son, Eric, a sad and lasting reminder of how central family was in his whole life.